It's November 10th, 2022. I was watching the CBS New York 6 a.m. version this morning. They had something on very interesting about Facebook's guy who they call Zuckerberg. I've seen that name in the local area in Nassau County, included with, I think it's part of Northwell Health Systems, one of the hospitals that I really feel took me like prisoner or hostage. I mean, um, there's been several of those. Um, but then it's just whatever. So I see today that there's this TV show or there's something called streaming. I don't know how to do it. I don't know what it is. I don't know how you get involved with it, but it's something that's new and trendy, part of this digital world. People like Zuckerberg know these things. Um, there's on Apple TV, which I have no idea how you gain access to this thing. There's a show called Ted Lasso. I just had to look it up. Um, I didn't even know what it was about. It's something about American football, and then he goes to the other side of the pond and has to learn something again. The paradox of world and the real world, whatever, have a Howie day of collide. I don't know. So I'm watching today, and Zuckerberg fires this guy. I mean, Zuckerberg's Facebook. Then there's something called Meta. No idea what the correlation is, except I know the Dark Lord told my father, the January father, the one who's not in the whatever, um, the guy that smiles. We'll just put it that way. Shows me his teeth. So already I know I'm like too happy to be in the know of something more. So, anyhow, so Zuckerberg fires this Ted Lasso guy. I know in the local area there's this dark guy that calls himself Lord. And I'm like, again, is that drug lord, warlord? I know it's not landlord. And I know it's not the good Lord. So I'm just curious which Lord, drug or war, this technology guy is, technically speaking. So that's interesting. Um, Zuckerberg winds up firing the Ted Lasso looking guy. And now, today, in my real out and about, I was going towards IV rehab for physical therapy. Um, and I noticed there was some lights and sirens thing going on. And I noticed something going on in the local. There was three cops that showed up sporting a very specific look. I was like, oh, that's interesting. Don't see that in the city very much. So whatever that's about. And then later, there's this mention about something that the Disney company is doing with getting a different group completely involved in something called ghetto films. They said Disney is doing this across the country. I don't know why. Getting them involved early and giving special opportunity to a certain group. Um, Again, I'm having a problem with the whole bunch of these opportunities and opportunistic whatever, especially based on what I'm experiencing in the field. So this is what this is like. This is what this sounds and looks like.
Facebook's parent company, Meta, laying off 13% of its global workforce, more than 11,000 employees. CEO Mark Zuckerberg citing sliding ad revenue as the cause of the sweep.
Now that looks like the number 8 turned on its side. And also on the sign, it says one hacker away. And it says global workforce for Meta.
Big layoffs. Job recruiters are now responding to the move. They say opportunities are out there for ex-Meta employees, especially with startups.
The thing that people aren't seeing is that there are plenty of companies that are hiring and that there is a light at the end of the tunnel.
33% of our jobs open right now are specifically within the tech scene, ranging from startups to publicly traded companies and other household names.
Which is just peachy dandy considering that in my age group, tech wasn't even on the scene. It wasn't a part of portfolio management. It wasn't part of development into like a vocabulary for the students that were entering college age or entering volunteer or whatever. Technology was not even like Lou personally at home said something about an avatar, and but it never really made sense. He brought home a sample of some box that lit up on top of another box, but it didn't do anything. It didn't go anywhere. You pushed a bunch of keys. Whoopee. Didn't make sense. Logically, it didn't look like it was of importance of any kind. And now all of a sudden, out of nowhere, they connected the stupid box, and now they've made this integrated network, and they start paying each other like ridiculous amounts of silicon money and closing out other opportunities completely. So now if I want a job, I have to put my information into this network, which I've done multiple times. And then someone somewhere in the magical system decides how much I'm worth and what jobs will actually get my application and call me back, if any. I don't really see an upside to this for like sustainability for the children. It looks like handing blind faith over to an already growing problem in the States.
In Silicon Valley.
Mark Zuckerberg has apologized to workers for his big gamble on the virtual reality metaverse, writing to Meta employees, quote, "I got this wrong and I take responsibility for that."
For what it's worth. Okay.
Gamble with what? Who gave him any authority to gamble at all? With whose children is he gambling?
A black lab mix named Duke saved this morning after being rescued from a cesspool in Suffolk County.
Crews found Duke about 12 feet deep.
Now it's E224 and it says midterm blame game. And it's the CBS mornings that starts at 7, and this is where they show the Ted Lasso guy.
Wonder, his friends tell me, whether he wants that kind of fight at this stage in his career. In Pence, he's coming out with a book next week called So Help Me God. Quite a title there. And he's going to detail for the first time his private conversations with former President Trump, especially in and around the Capitol attack.
All right, we are all still watching. Thank you very much, Bob. Doesn't seem like Ron DeSantis ever backs down from a fight, so that's going to be interesting to watch. Thank you. Now to the newest flood of layoffs in the tech world. Meta, the parent company of Facebook, sent emails to 11,000 employees yesterday telling them they no longer have their jobs. Workers heard a personal apology from CEO Mark Zuckerberg on this video that was obtained by NBC News.
I want to say, up front, that I take full responsibility for this decision.
Meta joins more than 30 other tech companies that have laid off employees this month.
So let's see. So that recent tech industry layoffs. So they have Twitter, Zendesk, Stripe, Meta, Lyft, Proval, Kaboom, Chime, Redfin, LiveRamp, Affirm, Booking.com, Coursera, Cameo, Open Door, and Salesforce. I have no idea what any of those do. I know what Lyft does. I've heard, is that an Uber thing? Maybe I don't know what it is. I think it might be taxi, but I'm not sure.
Alone, Carter Evans has more on the shockwaves that is hitting Silicon Valley's workforce.
I pulled up my phone, couldn't log into work chat, couldn't log into our internal sites.
Eric Treby, stunned by an early morning email from Meta, struggled to break the surprise news to his pregnant wife.
I was like looking at my phone a little bit in shock, and she was like, did you get laid off?
Just 2 weeks before Thanksgiving, the father and engineering manager finds himself part of a massive 13% reduction in Meta's workforce.
I believe the metaverse is the next chapter for the internet.
CEO Mark Zuckerberg bet big on the virtual reality metaverse last year when tech companies were flush with cash while everyone was working from home during the pandemic.
These companies like Meta have had to undo a lot of that hiring to adjust to the new reality.
Fellow startup founder Roger Lee tracks tech layoffs and says the impact can be far-reaching.
50% of the layoffs in tech in the US have come from Silicon Valley, the San Francisco Bay Area. These tech layoffs, which of course will have ripple effects for the local economies.
Nearly 75,000 tech workers across the country have gotten the axe so far this year, and with borrowing costs rising and revenue falling, there is likely more to come.
So where tech goes, that's where the rest of the economy goes.
Employment consultant Jason Greer says the booming job market is starting to shift.
We're seeing a crunch on tech, but we're probably going to be having this conversation about multiple industries next week.
If you're worried that your company is going to make job cuts, what should you be doing as an employee?
You have to protect yourself. You better get your butt back in the office. Let's be real. It's remote workers that are getting laid off first and everybody else second.
Eric Treby was a remote worker, and today he'll be back online, looking for a new job.
What's done is done. I just kind of got to charge forward, got to provide for my family.
For CBS Mornings, Carter Evans, Los Angeles.
Now, this is interesting. So they're laying off at tech and the meta world, the Ted Lasso looking guy. And then I see on ABC Channel 7 at 4 o'clock news today, being November 10th, 2022, the day before Veterans Day. This is who they're promoting the youth opportunity to for next gens.
Creative, it also makes sense.
Tyler Fox and the others are part of a program at the Ghetto Film School in the Bronx.
We recruit students from historically underrepresented neighborhoods, diverse young creatives.
Underrepresented by whom? Where's my opportunity been? I'm just curious. Where has my children's opportunity been? Again, just curious. I see them handing out a lot of opportunity to a lot of different groups. I just don't see any real effort made on getting me to the correct restaurant or getting me into the correct self-sustaining and finding my own way through the muse or the maze. For Maze Runner. That's odd.
Because we believe that you start from a young age, you grab them while they're young, you teach them filmmaking, you find amazing storytellers.
They get support from a program called Disney Future Storytellers.
Disney is actually doing this all across the country.
Eyewitness News anchor Sade Veteranois hosted the free screening.
So they're giving out this level of opportunity across the country, which is interesting because in this tech wave, I wasn't introduced to it, into it. I wasn't welcome into it. Through the technology portal that they then opened of opportunists that decided all sorts of things of who they'd allow business to flow to and who they wouldn't, with like some blind trust on the back end. And they totally railroaded or swiped me out of being able to participate. But they're doing that. Now they just fired the Ted Lasso guy because they're having some hiring cuts. But guess what still sits around is all that opportunity in some charitable formation that they've already got this ball running just growing certain areas, stronger and deeper connections, while cutting off access to programs, money, funding, communications, and being able to survive for others.
Harlem, which also came with some free advice.
You don't have to be the smartest person in the room, but you certainly have to be the one who's most aggressive, really trying to seek opportunities. And as you climb, remember, be a good person.
In Harlem, I'm Sandy Kenyon, Eyewitness News.
Well, Olympic medalist from Brooklyn this year.
That is some advice. It's star 1978, star 8378, Nicole Cattaruzza. It's Earth, solar system, Milky Way, universe, galaxy is broken. And it's Bayside Station, Bayside, New York, 11361. Also, they're tracking the storm, the weather storm. I saw that Lee Goldberg put something up about remnants of Nicole rather than tracking Nicole, just for distinction.
10th of November, it's really been a nice Thursday afternoon. It's been beautiful. Anything but tomorrow, as the remnants of Nicole almost go right over us by late tomorrow night into early Saturday morning. So we'll have waves of rain. We're already seeing some high clouds making for a gorgeous sunset, and that's actually the northern edge of the system that's approaching us tomorrow. So we're really mild. Temperatures aren't going to be the problem. The next couple days are going to be very comfortable in terms of temperature, although it gets muggy. Right now it's dry. 60.
And then if I switch to the meteorologist, or he calls himself, I think, the weathercaster, on CBS 2, he's got eye on the tropics, and it's the first alert weather for the tropical storm Nicole.
95 miles to the southeast of Tallahassee, Florida, 45-mile-per-hour winds. This thing has been downgraded dramatically as it moves over the land that is the peninsula of Florida. Well, now what's going to happen? It's going to push up to the north and eventually make that hook to the north and east, and by Friday at 1 o'clock, it's somewhere around North South Carolina, the border between the two states. But in our area, we already will start to feel the effects, because as the storm weakens, it starts to spread out. So for us, it's 12 noon Friday until 8 a.m. Saturday. How much rainfall are we talking? About a half an inch to about an inch.
He also mentioned that he called it wingspan, was about 800. I don't think the record button caught the programming fast enough. I also heard on a different station, wherever Sam Champion is, he mentioned he's been tracking the storm since 1980. He's been tracking something since 1983. I'm like, that's interesting. It's an interesting way of tracking storm since 1983. I mean, I heard it. I think I taped it. I'm just not going to go back and looking for it at the moment. It's star 1978, star 8378, Nicole Cattaruzza.